Hello everybody and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. Today we have a 1v1 on Prismatic Anomaly with Barcast versus Raider. Both players you can see now on the screen with Raider right in the distance. And as we have a look at Prismatic Anomaly in this low ground camera from the first time we've done it, we can see Barcast start position here with either side of him having some additional mexes. This map can be played as a team map as well, and you can see a triple mech there in the bottom right and in the center. On the opposite side over there is basically the same thing with just some additional pyramids. Now the pyramids do block radar. As you can see, they're quite high up, so they will block a lot of vision, and the same goes for pretty much all the way around the map. Now there are some problematic things like these big craters here, which will block movement, except for spider-based units, but they just provide another level of complexity. Bots can't go down there because it's too steep, so things like pawns and ticks, even though they have very high transversability, will not be able to get past that. Now as we zoom on out of the map on a side-to-side view, we can see that Raider has done the exact same thing on the right-hand side, and this map has no wind at all, so it's a solar complete map. Now, the map is pretty much the same on both sides, so I won't bother to go through exactly what either player is doing. They're both starting with vehicles. Well, at least Raider starting with vehicles and then going solars and then starting to walk. The early scouts have started to head out, and you can see that Barcast also has vehicles there, and his two scouts do manage to catch Raider's early scout. There is another one over there in the distance, which Barcast hasn't necessarily seen yet, but we're not sure if that will actually make it anywhere. But yeah, that's the Prismatic Anomaly map for you. So let's go down into the normal camera so we can continue on with the cast. And here we are. So we can see that Raider has basically sent out scouts. This is a weird angle. Sent out scouts like this to cover all of the avenues basically in which his opponent could be. His opponent could choose to start in the corners or start in the center. Raider has now basically concluded with that Barcast is here in this central position. Now Barcast also is, let's select Barcast. He's also aware, you can see here there's something there, so he knows his opponent isn't over here, and he will now just briefly there spot a unit. So Barcast should be now aware that Raider is there if he was paying attention to that scout. Now what we'll probably see here, and we're already seeing it a little bit with Barcast, is that the central position gives you a favorable expansion opportunity. So what it does is it enables you to move in a direction with your commander, send an engineer out the other direction, and then you can send an engineer forward. That gives you 3 straight avenues to defend. Interestingly enough, most players are choosing to go sideways with their commander, probably just due to the fact that there's triple mexes in the corner, meaning that you can get those up quicker. The commander, as you're aware, has higher build power, and as such, meaning that it's going to be able to get those metal extractors up that much quicker than if it was just a constructor, especially a solo constructor, which the constructor on its own has a build power of 95, and the commander obviously with 300, if I remember it is. Yep, there. So commander, obviously the build power of over 3 construction vehicles, and you're not going to send 3 construction vehicles down a lane, so we'll definitely be able to get it done quicker, as well as building those LLTs quick enough. Barcast looking to get some value from a raid, but unable to do it due to the LLTs in position. He's also having to defend for a raid himself, which he will do successfully. Now what we are seeing in Barcast base here is something of value. It's hard to really see what's happened here, but you can see these rascals here. The idea of these solars being placed here is not just to generate energy, but is also to build a wall. You will often see this in maps like Comet Catcher Remake, where players will use solars as a wall around their base, because when solars close up, they double their armor value, making them harder to kill. Now, they are still pretty weak, but they're obviously a lot stronger than a metal extractor or a wind turbine, which obviously doesn't matter on this map. But you'll often see players, especially in higher tiers, when they're building their energy, build it in this defensive position. Because then if you place like an LLT here, the LLT will be able to shoot over the solars, but units that are coming in and raiding, at least early units, will not actually be able to hit the LLT. So it's a very good, strong defensive position. Barcast doesn't seem to be following that up here, but you can see how it actually did work, because these raider units here were unable to kill the metal extractor. Now, some early harassers attempted by Raider, but unable to really do much, as both parties are just kind of having units thrown about the map in this early stage. To be fair, what I might do is, whilst not much is going on here, we're going to just like speed up 2 times here, just because we want to get to the point where the players are actually starting to do stuff. Now, you can see a raid taking place in the corner. The sizes do have an advantage to distance here. And the other problem with this map is, due to its size, it's a very large and wide map. It's difficult for you to maintain unit control over the entire map. Raider's raid will actually get some value here, gets a single metal extractor. Also, Barcast doesn't really have the forces right now to deal with that. The LLT, though, will put a problem in the works. Meanwhile, though, Barcast has managed to mop up the top right-hand corner, taking with it a construction vehicle, which will drastically slow down the expansion here of Raider. If Barcast does happen to follow this move into around here, and going across the center of the map, you will be able to pick up a lot more metal extractors as well. But it does not. Oh, well, literally as I say, he goes to do it. The question is, what will he be able to see? He sees a half-built metal extractor, but as he's not paying attention to it, he does not continue on. He also didn't queue these to actually pass by the actual metal extractors there, so he actually missed an opportunity to pick up some metal extractors, and now due to that he's missed out the ability to pop off 2 metal extractors and a construction vehicle. He does manage to get 1, but these few raider units won't survive for much longer. They will get an additional metal extractor though, probably on its drive-by. Oh, but it's too far away and doesn't get it. That was very close. See, Barcast's not really paying attention to this singular unit here. Just queuing up movement paths, hoping to get some value. It's more focusing on this, defending against this attack from Raider. Raider right now, though, having a lot of metal and starting to overflow. Desperately trying to build some additional solars here and con turrets in an attempt to make use of this metal. Now with the build turrets maybe able to start using his metal income. Yep, you can see that metal start going down. Probably overbuilding maybe con turrets if anything. Meanwhile, we look over at Barcast base. He's just reclaimed his vehicle lab and is going air. Are we going to see a bombing run perhaps? What vision does Barcast have of the base of Raider? None. Bombing run probably not going to be that useful if he doesn't have any idea on what his opponent's base looks like. Could go for a scout though for that. Raider has positioned his comm on the very left here of the map, whereas Barcast is now in a more centralized position, kind of where you would expect Barcast to be. Try to defend against raids on the sides here, but there's a lot of wrecks to be had around the map now. I'm trying to find a con. 288 there, 210 there. I mean, there's a lot of wrecks, but there's not a lot of high value at this point. So I can understand why neither player has decided to go for res bots or anything yet. We do see Barcast with an air scout. And there is a big group here of 9 incisors making their way down. Barcast's forces on this left-hand side are a bit dilapidated, with a lot of them basically one hit from being dead. Barcast's vision, though, is still limited. The scout doesn't seem like it actually ever made it to the base. And with AAs already up, interested to see how much value he can get from the gunships. And if he even transitions into bombers. I mean, the problem with gunships is that they're great, but as an individual gunship, the LLT will probably take it out before it can kill these metal extractors. Especially when it just randomly targets things. Yeah, see, surprising how well LLTs do against air. I mean, this is a solitary gunship. You don't often see a solitary gunship. Too late, Barcast. That is not going to be able to kill that in time. And there we go, it's dead. Fighters now appearing and literally only building a few and then reclaiming the factory to go straight back into vehicle production. Barcast now, though, transitioning over to stouts. No Janis's, though. And Barcast losing a lot of his ground forces. With the transition over to stouts, it does mean that he's going to have less quantity of units on the field. However, his opponent Raider has also transitioned over to brutes now as well, so there should be an equal amount. But Barcast still limited on his quantity. He should be able to catch this group out here. Group manages to get away though. Bottom side, though, these 2 stouts is not enough to deal with this many incisors, as the stout gets surrounded and taken out very quickly. Only 3 down here. They all get mopped up. Whether these guys manage to get any value is of interest. Oh, interestingly, though, these incisors manage to get behind the stouts, and then rather than continuing on, turn around. Raider deguns a couple of stouts as they make their way past, and rather than stopping, these are just going to continue moving. With speed of 76, they are slightly faster than the brutes, so in theory this should be able to just run away now and get some value in the distance. Although Barcast decides to turn the stout around, and that will just nullify all of that advantage he did have. Now just try to move it to pick up a metal extractor, but I think it's going to die before it reaches the second metal extractor. Gets the radar, then dies, yeah. Speaking of radar, let's look at what Radar's radar is like. Raider having to build a new radar in the center. God, that's a tongue twister and a half, isn't it? The right side now open and exposed. This map is very much about having radar coverage so that you can see when your opponent is attacking. Barcast's vision, on the other hand, pretty well rounded. He's got raiders in pretty much all kind of locations here. And Barcast's tank force on the top manages to catch an expanding constructor, make that 2, but does lose his entire tank force for that. And at this point, I don't know if that was necessarily worth it. He does have res bots now, though. Not only that, but on the left-hand side here, Barcast continuing yet another push, trying to cause some more damage here to a Raider. but plenty of LLTs there to defend as well as units. And he does get the metal extractor here and the energy production, which is quite important. How much more he's going to be able to get, though, is interesting to say. Right now, there are tanks chasing these 4 down, so they will get killed relatively quickly. Barcast needs to keep the momentum moving and move along, but as he's not really paying attention to these units at this time, they will get mopped up with no further value to be given. Now, he is sending more on their way down there to try and get even more kind of open. Punch a hole basically through your opponent and just keep going. Raider, though, with D-guns on Barcast's forces, Raider needs to be very careful because you can just outrange a commander with good micro. And Raider's units are close by. Barcast probably doesn't have enough. If he had maybe a couple of Januses in there, he could maybe cause some problems for Raider, but as of yet, doesn't quite have it. A couple of forces on the right making their way through. LLTs don't really stand a chance against your actual battle tanks. And needing something to deal with this, these 2 tanks are just making their way straight through. They may have problems with a double LLT situation if they both targeted the same thing, but it doesn't look like they are. And they both do get taken out, though, with the double LLTs there, but still losing out on 2, 3, 4 metal extractors. And that's going to take a while for Barcast to go to repair. Now, he does have air constructors now, which will help speed that process up. Air obviously being the fastest constructors in the game, movement-wise. However, their build power is absolutely atrocious. So, although they are going to be quick to get there, it's going to take them a while to build anything. Barcast, interestingly enough, though, building a bunch of whistlers here. Maybe just trying to whittle down his opponent's air force, which you can see the fighters are now non-existent for Raider. But that is going to diminish his brawling capacity with his opponent's tanks in the hope that he can whittle them down with whistlers. Able to... Oh, here we go. Barcast transition into Tech 2. Now, this is a lot of metal he's obviously had to invest in here, and we can see that now on the map by a sheer, lack of space now, lack of units. Barcast ahead on all avenues, though, when it looks like economy-wise, even though he controls less of the map just due to how well he's built up. Not only that, but Resbots were helping quite a bit there with the amount of reclaim to be had. Barcast with almost... well, 9k of metal ahead of Raider right now. Bear in mind, over 2k of that will have been invested into that Tech 2 factory. And now with 5 LLTs back here, will it be enough to hold off all of these tanks? 8 tanks? Probably not. If a self-destruct happened on some of these LLTs, it may change the battle, but not enough as all the LLTs go pop. Not only that now, but this force getting a bit closer to the base. Jaguars coming out at lightning speed, though. Will it be enough to stop this push? And it does seem like that's the case, as Raider quickly turns around and runs his forces back, getting good value. Resbots, though, are here nearby, and they can resurrect pretty much all of this. And if that's what Barcast does, it's going to be difficult for Raider to match that army if he does turn it all around. Not only with that, but with having Tech 2 as well. Raider now transitioned into Tech 2 himself. Raider in a bit of a strong position here. Technically, he's got 4,200 metal banked in solars. If he chooses to reclaim them and build advanced solars with them instead. Barcast does have quite a lot as well. He has 3,875 banked in solars. And you can see him starting to reclaim some of those. He does have more advanced solars already than his opponent. His opponent only just starting on advanced solars. So Barcast should be way ahead in his energy production, which we can see here, quite substantially ahead on energy production. which does enable Barcast to maybe build some more expensive units. However, Barcast is losing probing attacks on his flanks quite regularly here. Losing ground on the right and on the left. He's desperately trying to rebuild it as quick as he can, but it's not working too well. Jaguars aren't really working too well either against brutes on a one-on-one. But we do see bulls out now as well. Barcast just reclaiming all the wrecks with his air constructors. To be fair, Raider has nothing to really stop that at the moment. Barcast is overflowing metal though, as we see here, currently 400 metal overflowed. And this is what I mean by Jaguars not being great against these tanks. The entire army that Barcast had on the left-hand side completely annihilated. Not only that, but he will lose a vehicle con as well on that left-hand side, which was trying to shore up some defenses over there. And now this is a big force on the right to deal with. Barcast in the center now having to also deal with a Tiger as well as the extra tanks. Only a single bull to defend. And Barcast struggling right now. Probably continuing on with the Tech 1 units here might be some part of his problem. And it looks like he's also realized that himself with reclaiming of the vehicle lab here to go straight into Tech 2 production only. Eating up that, giving a huge amount of metal now, and he's going to be able to pump out more and more units. He does have a fusion up as well, which means pretty much all of these solars, this 3,000 metal, can be eaten now in order to try and save some metal and get that metal back. Single bull here trying to do the God's work and make some more wrecks, but gets surrounded and completely destroyed. On the right hand side though, this Tiger is just roaming free, cleaning up some expansion of Barcast. Raider still unable to really spend his metal effectively, having to invest in a lot of advanced solars due to his lack of energy production or a lack of advanced solars early on. Also has not built a fusion with this guy, just building more and more metal extractors, which is fine. Raider in a very, very strong position, even though Barcast is ahead metal production wise by still actually about 10k now. Barcast struggling to hold his expansions. Also losing mass grouped up units here, a bunch of resbots and an aircon. It's quite a waste. Unfortunately, there's just so much going on across the map. Barcast trying to regain some initiative here with some bulls in the center, picking off some defenses, but Barcast is getting attacked on both the left and right side, basically simultaneously here, and it's not going well for Barcast. Bulls versus Tigers, I think bulls tend to win. But still, proving difficult for Barcast to maintain a production line up as quick as possible. None of the production of Raider has been harassed for a considerable amount of time, and Raider now with basically half the map. The early T2 that Barcast had, the advantage of that is starting to wear thin. Barcast's been unable to amass a quantity of Tech 2 that has actually threatened Raider whatsoever. And Raider just throwing Tech 2 at him. 19 Tigers so far on the field, as opposed to only 12 bulls across the entire field. Make that 14 now. And the funny thing is like, if he was Cortex, shurikens would just completely overwhelm Raider, forcing Raider to go air. But Armada has none of that, so he's stuck. He could maybe chuck in a Starlight or two just to try and pepper some of the Tigers at range, but the amount of energy required to fire that, and not only the metal, would prove difficult for him to maintain. And also that would remove an additional unit from the field in essence, because right now he just needs more units and is not getting it. Having some resbots to res the dead tanks though would provide those units that he needs. Barcast's Calm though about to maybe get trampled by the Tigers. Raider not paying attention to his Tigers though, and it's going to enable Barcast to pick some off. His Calm down to 50% health. Raider gets a bit too close. Barcast cloaks down to 40% health. Cloaks again, another D-gun off, and manages to survive with 37% health. Barcast choosing to eat the wreckage of the Tigers here. Barcast is just putting all this metal, taking it off the field in essence, and just trying to get more and more bulls at himself, rather than reclaim it or resurrecting it rather. Now, one thing Barcast does have now is he has a group of these 8 bulls. They are pretty damaged here, but Raider has just been sending units as a constant stream to the front and not actually amassing them, and it's worked well, but Barcast is starting to get a bit of a clump of units now, and that will be where Raider starts to have problems. Now, a lot of these tanks on the left-hand side are pretty damaged, and we see Banishers now also coming out, which will add that long-range harass to the bulls, and their high alpha damage as well, which will cause more and more problems for Barcast. Barcast splitting his forces up a bit too much in the center though, and that has allowed these Tigers in the center to pretty much go free. Choosing not to turn these bulls on the right-hand side into the Banisher and just trying to outrun it, which will not happen for a very long time with the range that the Banisher has here. Not only that, every time a Banisher missile hits, obviously it's being staggered because of the impulse damage. And these units, although they may get a couple of metal extractors on their way, could get a lot more if they just turned around to deal with the Banisher, which Barcast now decides to do finally after losing 2 bulls to it. And now these 2 bulls can get a tremendous amount of value if they're quick about it. They could quite easily move like this and get a lot of economy damage. They need to be very, very quick though, and also the problem is shurikens could just come out from Raider here, and that would stop that. Barcast not paying attention to that force, focusing instead on these forces on the left-hand side. Able to potentially pick off a Tech 2 Constructor here, which is quite substantial. But it's really only substantial if he's able to get the metal extractors as well, because that's going to force his opponent to come back here. And he only manages to get 1, it looks like. Yeah, Banisher will finish that off before that gets destroyed. Meanwhile, this Tiger just whittling down this metal extractor quite substantially, to be fair. And he will get that as well as the corner mexes, and this is just losing more and more value for Barcast. He's still somehow ahead on metal, but that's probably due to reclaim. He is starting to reclaim some metal points in the center with his air cons, but there's only so much you're going to be able to do with that without having fighters. Surprisingly, he has a bunch of Stork air transports. Oh, okay. He's using them to transport comms. Okay, that makes sense. It's good to see players actually using air transports. Now, whilst he has air superiority, being able to transport a Tech 2 con to the corner and then rebuild all of these metal extractors really quickly is going to be very, very useful. He could also use it to transport a construction turret to help get that stuff done quicker. Barcast now with 3 fusions. His opponent hasn't built a single one. The Barcast ahead on energy production, having to try and convert some of that energy production though into metal. Right now he's building a bunch of energy converters, but he doesn't actually have enough energy at the moment. Now going into his 4th fusion. At the 30-minute mark, neither player has a anti-nuke yet. Barcast surprisingly building a bunch of medium mines here. I don't think that's really going to do too much. There are pitbull defenses here. Pop-up may be enough to deter Raider from continuing on this direction though. At least that Banisher has to turn around. Not enough Tech 2 defenses though set up just now to really make a difference. Barcast commander gone into Cloak and hoping to intercept these Tigers as they make their way down. Meanwhile on this right hand side, a portion of Bulls have tried to push up on the right but have decided nope. Moving straight towards Barcast, and Barcast able to pick all of those Tigers off with a single D-gun. Amazing planning there for Barcast's side. Expecting them to come right to him. And he was right. Now, interestingly enough, when we zoom out on the map, it looks like Barcast has not much of the map. But Raider technically has, that much at the moment. And not for much longer, I would say Barcast has, what do you think? That. Although Barcast currently has this, I don't think it's going to have this for very much longer. I mean, I'm talking like it's probably second. So it's fairly even right now in terms of metal extractors. The difference is that Raider does have more Tech 2 metal extractors, 16 as opposed to Barcast's 14. And that does make a difference for metal income. We can see that here. However, metal produced overall the entire game is still advantage Barcast. And as the big group of forces go in the middle, Barcast attempting to draw some Banisher shots off with ticks, and it is working. And an anti-nuke now being built here by Raider. But an anti-nuke also now built by Barcast, but instead of Tech 2, he is going Tech 3. Marauders making their way out onto the front line. Problem is, Banishers deal with Marauders pretty easily. So he needs to push these Marauders where there are no Banishers, quickly get in and around. But these Scorpions will also deal with Marauders pretty easily as well. Barcast about to lose this right-hand flank. Will have to send something there to deal with it. But the biggest problem is going to be in the center here, where now Barcast's Bulls have been surrounded by the 2 Tigers in the rear. This is a bit of a bad push on Barcast's point of view. I think he's realized that now, tries to turn around, but I think it's pretty much too late for most of these Bulls here. Yeah, well over half of them will get killed. These 3 will survive. Surprisingly, that one's survived as well, but Raider pretty much has free roam in the middle now. Marauder focusing the Banishers down first, which is the right play. But I would argue that the Marauders now are already irrelevant. And we actually see a demon on the field. We don't often see demons being played by Cortex players. Most of them just go straight for Shivas. Shivas are significantly cheaper. 1,500 metal, 23,000 energy, as opposed to the 90,000 energy and 6,000 demons. You can get fit so many Shivas in that bad boy that most players just completely ignore demons at all. Now, Barcast has switched over to Razorbacks. Bear in mind, we're talking 9,000 metal to 3,800 here. So, one demon should be able to take on multiple Razorbacks at a time. The question is how much of Raider's army can Barcast take out with these early Marauders, managing to save a Tech 2 con there at the very last second. Very well played Barcast for his micro skills there. And these Marauders, unable to take out the whole army, actually losing most of his Marauders. And as the demon comes in, say goodbye to your ticks. One problem is demons do have quite a bit of friendly fire damage. You just kind of need to be careful. The bull's just trying to stay at range here. I think the demon is slightly faster than the bulls. Range 500, range 460, and a slightly longer range as well. Demon coming down on the right, 2 in the center, 3 in the center, and only a single Razorback to try and defend. Would argue that maybe he needs Titans here rather than Razorbacks. But again, the problem is the size of the map. He would need more Titans to cover a larger area, and he can't really afford that right now. 2 Razorbacks versus 2 Demons is not going to go well at all. Saying that though, he does manage to take it out by just nullifying a single demon by the angle in which he attacked from. But look how many demons are out now. 6th one is being made. Razorback versus Demon one-on-one. Just look how quickly that Razorback is melting. And now, so much metal on this front line. 20k metal. Surprisingly, again, Barcast choosing not to resurrect any of this and to just pour all of it into building fresh Razorbacks from the base. I mean, when you think about it, if he did resurrect them, they would be then low health, and then he'd have to sit and wait for them to heal up as well. So this does remove the metal from the field quickest. But you could argue that right now he doesn't really have the ability to spend that metal, because he doesn't quite have enough energy. So does eating all that metal actually help? Demons pushing into the Tech 2 defense on their left-hand side, but they will be able to walk through that fairly easily without much problems and make toast of these pit bulls. Razorbacks now also with not even enough energy to fire, and that becomes a big problem for Barcast. How is Barcast going to defend? And the reason why he's got no energy is because he's also walking while cloaked, using 1,000 energy a second whilst walking. You see now all of a sudden he's turned off his cloak. He has energy for his units to fire. He's getting in position to degun these demons on the left-hand side. Meanwhile, in the center, 3 demons versus 2 Razorbacks. A resurrected Banisher, though, will actually help considerably. Being able to hit the demons at a long range and then use the Razorbacks to field for him. Here comes the demons. Will Barcast's plan succeed? They are walking straight towards the commander. Oh, great D-gun there. Using the Razorback at the north to draw a distraction. And Barcast managing to pick up 2 demons with a single D-gun. But with 3 demons coming down on the right-hand side. 1 in the center. Barcast is losing ground left and right. Unable to inflict any damage of his own. And losing Razorbacks consistently. While most of these demons are staying alive. Barcast does have a decent amount of Razorbacks now. A total of 7. But when you compare that to the 6 demons, it's not really enough. Maybe we see some stilettos here? I don't think that demons are very EMP resistant. That might make a big change. I don't see gunships really being that much of value with demons having their own AA. Barcast great positioning though, able to get a flanking bonus on this demon. And that will take that one out, but with very low health and another one on its way. He needs to reposition quickly. 4 demons in the center now to 4 Razorbacks. But 2 of these Razorbacks are considerably damaged. Gunships come in and get taken out instantly. I did think that the gunships weren't going to be the right call there. And now they're just free to go straight towards Barcast base. Barcast cloaked. Preparing for the D-gun again. Will he manage it? Barcast gets a single one. Misses the D-gun on the group. Needed to wait just a slight bit longer. And he would have been able to take out all 4 of those demons.
Battle ended.
Very well played there by both players. I think Barcast needed to switch off for the Razorbacks to maybe save the day there. Or go for some different form of air unit to help defend. But very well played. We can see here that metal produced. Only just at the end did Raider have more metal produced than Barcast. So it was a pretty close game. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Don't forget to hit subscribe and I'll see you all next time.